Hey, it's Robert Clickybeard, the host of the Commercial Landscaper podcast. These podcasts challenge you to grow as a leader, to stretch yourself beyond your comfort zone, and to 10x your company. I really encourage you to enjoy the show, share it with teammates, fellow business owners, and subscribe. That helps us grow our community. This podcast is sponsored by Bum Data, helping commercial landscapers turn labor data into smarter decisions with intuitive, actionable analytics. Check them out if you're ready to control your labor costs and boost your margins. When you mention Wilson T60, you'll get 1 month free subscription to check out this amazing software. So, Jeffrey, tell the audience a little bit about you, your background. You obviously been part of the industry for a while, so I'd love to just hear more about you.
Robert, I mean, to keep it simple, brother, I love the way fresh cut grass smells. I enjoy it. I've enjoyed it since I was a kid, and whether it's playing in the backyard or whether it's cutting the grass in mom and dad's house. So it was, I guess you could say I found my passion early in the landscape side of things. And so, growing up, and having a great family that had an awesome work ethic, it allowed me to pursue a passion into what I enjoyed, which was landscaping. So, you fast forward to today, I am married with 3 kids. And what's pretty cool of it is 2 of my children have now joined me in our operation, in our company. So we've got a great thing going here along the coast of Georgia and South Carolina, and we're having a great time.
How did you manage to persuade the kids to come into the business?
Well, I tried to dissuade them. I had no interest in them coming. And to be quite honest with you, I'm not a betting man, but if I would be, I would have not have put money on that. My kids, all 3 of them, I have 2 sons and a daughter, and all 3 of them growing up would come in and work in the business. They do this, that, and the other little things. And then when my boys, my 2 sons were off in college, they'd come home in the summer. They'd run crews, they dig holes, they would do it all. And they had passions of their own and interests of their own. And so I never imagined that they would have any interest in coming back to this company. And me and my wife didn't really mention it to them about that. That was, this business is my passion. And so you fast forward to through that time when they graduated. My one son who graduated first, he called and said that he was ready to move back home, and he was interested in the business. And I told him, good, but he needed to go work elsewhere for no short of 1 year. And he did, not in the landscape industry, but he went and worked elsewhere for a company out of Jacksonville, Florida. Right. And it was crazy. To a year to the date, he called and said he was ready to come home and work in the business. So, and then the second son, when he graduated, and he's my one son, he was a business major, not a landscape architect major, business major. And he's working in the business. He's been here now going on 3 years since he graduated. And he's now one of our branch managers at our home office operation. And my other son, he graduated, he's a CPA, and he's been in the business for 2 years, and he is now taken over as a CFO of our company over the last 2 years. So those are the 2 that's working in the organization. So I'm proud for them. They've got it tough having dad here, but they handle it very well.
I'm a firm believer on, especially, when you're a kid, I think you need more of that work ethic.
Yep.
And if you're involved in the business, whether it's paid or unpaid, then just having that good work ethic gets you through so many different situations in life.
And, Robert, speaking of work ethic, that's one thing I can tell you that my mom and dad both had. We didn't have much to offer otherwise, but my mom and dad instilled a phenomenal amount of work ethic and honesty into myself and to my brother, and who my brother's working at the organization as well. But they instilled that in us. So as my kids was growing up, I had no choice but to do my best, me and my wife, to instill that in them. And so seeing a kid like that develop with an awesome work ethic and what they're capable of doing, that's the most proudest thing that I have of my children.
I've got another question around that, but before I ask it, just so for the audience sake, what sort of size of operation are you right now in terms of either locations or number of employees, whatever you'd like to share?
So revenue wise, we'll do a little over 18 million this year. Okay. And we're operating out of 3 locations. We're located on the coast of Georgia. Our home office is in a little small town called Brunswick. And we have an operation right north of us, about an hour's drive north in Savannah, Georgia. And then we have our third location down in Amelia Island, Florida. Both of those north operation and south operation is about an hour's drive from our home office. So we're operating out of 3 locations covering about 120-mile span along the coast of North Florida, all the way into the southern area of South Carolina. And it's about a little over 120-mile span. We have about right at 198 full-time members. We do H2B processes. Our H2B folks will be scheduled to be in next week, and we'll bring in an additional 40 people on our H2B processes for the season, and they'll allocate to the different operations. Yes, sir.
So as you continue to scale your company, and maybe you've experienced this already, but you're obviously wanting to bring in new employees, potential, future leaders of the company. But, I've heard other owners complain about maybe some of the lack of work ethic. What sort of things do you do in terms of just trying to either onboard them or filter through the people that, could be work better or maybe are going to be good future employees? Talk me through that whole process.
So future leaders of the company that's a business in itself. So what we did is we created our own department. We call it our team experience department. It's run by 2 people at our company. One person handles more of the administration side of things, and the other individual is a full-time recruiter. When I first started looking at that 2 years ago, I started looking at the overhead that was costing. There's a lot of companies out there that are recruiters that I could hire to go and recruit for me, but it's hard for them recruiters to understand who we are as a business and who our culture is. So bringing that in-house was the start of really trying to locate and recruit certain leaders that we find. And so that has become a full-time ordeal for us, Robert. And that team is doing everything from, they just got back from Colorado from the student career days of now. We've got about 3 colleges within an hour's drive of here that we're consistently recruiting out of, whether they be business management degrees or whether they be horticultural degrees or whatnot. So we're consistently recruiting in those areas. We do scholarship programs to all 3 of them schools. We're really heavily invested into those colleges there to recruit students to come and work for us through internships, through permanent employment. And then outside of that, we're doing everything and in between from, we've got relationships with pastors of a lot of the churches in our markets because there are certain people that may confide in a pastor that they're looking for work. And if we've got a great relationship with those folks, then they'll say, hey, I got a great company, and you go talk to them. We do a lot of different things, Robert, on the recruiting front, first and foremost. And then that's for all positions at the company. On average, we're doing no less than 2 interviews a day. Some of those interviews are via just a traditional Zoom meeting. Some of those interviews are face-to-face in one of our 3 markets. Once we can recruit the right individual to come into our organization, they go on our onboarding program. And for every position at our company, we have a 90-day onboarding system. The typical onboarding that can last 1 full day is all the paperwork, the drug test, all that. But once they get in for the position, the first day they're going to have their job description in front of them. They're going to meet me. They're going to talk to me. They're going to feel what the culture of the company is. They're going to visit other operations by me, driving around to the other locations, meeting the team. And then the second day when they come in, they start their training program. And if they're going to be an account manager, they're partnered up with one of our senior account managers for 90 full days. And it is a black and white written process that they do on the training program. And then outside of that, we built our own, we call it our CGI, Coastal Greenery Academy. We built a 60-person school, if you will, at our home office last year. And we're using it twice a week to do in-house training for specific positions and jobs we've got. I'll give you an example. Today, we've got 14 new account managers that are out there training, a full day training today out in our academy as you and I are talking. And I've got a couple of outside folks that's in here doing that training for us, but they're training that. So we're constantly building leaders at our company. And our vision at our company is to grow leaders and landscapes in the communities we serve. And I do believe that it is my job to continually to grow leaders. I think that the landscape industry, we focus a lot on horticulture and landscapes, and you got to have that. And just about every one of my competitors has that, Robert. So I got to know how to prune that plant. I got to know how to cut that grass and fertilize it and plant that and install that plant or design that. I got to know how to do those things. And we teach that, and we hire people that understands that. But the leadership capacity side of it, I think leadership is a taught trait. I think you teach that. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, people has to have the capacity to meet us halfway on that teaching. But I think that is something that we have been working hard at for the last 2 years to continually build leaders at our organization. And we're doing it every day here.
Let's take a minute to thank our sponsors. Urcher is a life brand born from grit, founded by Zach Strausser. The mission is clear: to raise $1 million for the trades by supporting vocational training across North America. Urcher makes tough, smart gear built for landscaping and snow professionals who work hard outside every day in all conditions. Their apparel puts safety first, helps crews look sharp, and honors the pride in their craft. Every purchase has purpose, fueling training programs and building a resilient workforce. Urcher isn't just workwear, it's a culture of respect, resilience, and results. When you contact Urcher, mention Wilson 360 and Zach and his team will take well care of you. I want to just double click on that because I think you've just hit on three super important points that I want to really emphasize for the audience. So the three things I took away from that is, well, one overall theme is investing in people, thinking outside the box and where you find those people. So that could be, you just mentioned pastors, you just mentioned colleges. I think a lot of companies are guilty of using the same channels to try and find people, maybe using Indeed or something. Yeah. But, thinking outside the box to try and find people. And then the second biggest thing is the onboarding. We were also really heavy on having that real detailed, 90-day onboarding program, because I think that could be critical if an employee is going to stay with you long term.
Yes.
If you're meeting with them a few minutes and then passing them on to the next person, then that doesn't really go anywhere. But if you're meeting with them, talking about your core values, your culture, you're driving around with them, those are all key important steps in that first 90 days. And then the last big nugget is that academy piece. Yep. When you think about it, 60-70% of our costs are typically labor, but we don't invest enough in that piece. So if you're investing in the academy or leadership development training, or whether it be internal or external, it's such a great investment to make in the future of your company.
For us, investing in the people, it was the missing link that I was noticing across our industry. And I was guilty of that as well. I'm not telling you that on 2 years ago, on day one, when we started it, that we were experts at it. I didn't steal an idea from someone. I didn't do anything like that. I just told my team, I said, let's just start and we'll figure it out as we go. And as we've continually perfected that and come up, from the training, actual training programs that we have developed in-house, building the academy, from the investing in people to the way that we work on our culture, the way that we celebrate wins at our company. All of that stuff is key to keep the camaraderie of people together. I think that as we've continued to grow that, the word in our markets get out, and we actually are starting to get phone calls from other people that says, hey, I know so-and-so that works at your organization, and I want to see if there's some kind of an opportunity for me. I had an interview with a guy yesterday that lives in a different market that very thing happened to. I did a Zoom interview with him, and he was telling me so-and-so works there, and he said that y'all train people, y'all invest, do X, 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 and X. And he said, what would be something that you have available now? So I just feel like investing in people is a big component of the organization instead of investing in equipment, which is a given. And I hope that never stops. And I don't mind telling you that 100% of my job description as the CEO of this company, 100% is that very thing. investing in. If you looked at my job description, every single day I'm having a one-on-one with someone or maybe two people. I've got training events that I've got going on. Some of those training events are just with one person. Maybe I'm doing a ride along with that person. Maybe I'm conducting a training event for some ops managers at one of our location. And maybe that training consists of how to communicate with the team. I mean, it's all these different things. And my job at the company is that. And I do have two other people on our team that are partnered with me. I have a young lady that's partnered with me and another gentleman that's partnered with me. And our role is 100% investing into that team through coaching, training, and celebrating the wins, et cetera, as we go through.
So maybe we rename you, instead of CEO, we put you down as head coach.
Well, it's funny you say that. Every one of our safety vests from our leaders right there on the pocket says coach. Every one of our leaders is a coach here. So we truly believe in that, Robert.
That's awesome. Jeffrey, you've obviously, going on the back of that, you've invested in a lot of time and effort into the people part, which I commend you on. What type of results has that seen in your business? Have you seen, has that helped you scale? Have you become more profitable? Are you bringing in more business? What sort of results have you seen from that investment piece?
Yes, sir. So, Robert, I could tell you that in 2019, and by the way, this is my 31st season at Coastal Greenery. We just started our new spring season. This is my 31st season. In 2019, I was hitting brick walls, meaning that as a CEO or the owner of the company, I wasn't having fun anymore. It was just a drudgery and I hate to say that, but it was just a drudgery of coming in and dealing with issues on a daily basis and dealing with client issues, dealing with equipment issues, dealing with sales issues, you name it. And I knew that there was a better way. I had to be. And, you get all these different phone calls of people wanting to buy your company or invest. That's a big thing in our industry. It's been a big thing for several years now. And don't get me wrong, those thoughts went through my mind when I decided to pull my big boy pants up and get over it. And how do I fix this thing? If I had to do it over again earlier, I do know that if I had invested in people 10 years ago, I would be double the size that I am now. And so when I started investing in people, to answer your question, I will say that in the last 4 years, we have, since 2022, we've doubled the size of our company since 2022 in revenue. And that can be scary, but to be honest with you, we're holding 13% nets, which I'm extremely proud of, and I'm watching our EBITDA grow and the way that we're paying high salaries to our people. We're paying salaries, these 6-digit salaries, Robert, that I never thought that we could imagine to pay people. And I learned that if you pay that money to these people, you set up good profit share programs for your team and you reward them in those regards and you celebrate the wins and you constantly invest into those people, they'll do amazing things at the organization. And that's what we're experiencing now. I mean, we have our hiccups and we find our bumps along the road, but the team rallies together and those bumps become minimal. And that's why now I'm having a lot of fun running the business, because I changed my mindset. I changed the way I looked at it.
I do come across a lot of owners who have been in business for years. They've been through the grind, still going through the grind. They've been through COVID, they've been through 2008 to 11. They come to me often for coaching and they're tired, they're exhausted. You obviously went through a pivotal moment where something triggered you, where you said, hey, I'm unhappy, something needs to improve. Talk me through what that looked like, just as a learning experience for people on the call who might be going through that challenge right now.
Yeah. So like I told you, for me, it was back in 2019. And Robert, I had a couple of those times over my 31 years. I could pivot all the way back to 2005. I had one, but 2019 was the most recent one. Again, you're going through that drudgery, that time. And I truly believe every CEO, or at least every CEO I'm friends with in the landscape industry, has gone through that at some point in their career. And a lot of us, including me, I've got a landscape background. I don't have a business background. I've known people now that's a business background that don't have a landscape background. Nevertheless, I was the opposite of that. So I had to learn business. And I think the business side of it is what caused that drudgery, and that how do you make money? How do you price your work? I don't have enough money to make payroll. I've got this borrowed money on this equipment. I can't even make the payment. I've had all that stuff happen, and everything revolves around what is a gross margin? I don't even know how to do it. What's actual hours versus budgeted hours? What's efficiency ratings? All these things. And so for me, when I hit that roadblock, it was stress, a lot of it. But I don't know, man. I think true entrepreneurs, and when you have that CEO mindset, I can't tell you that it was just one thing. I'm just the type of person, though, that when my back's up against the wall, I do come out swinging. And that's the way I felt. And I could have sold my business at that time, and I had that opportunity with a few companies, and I toyed with that idea, Robert. I entertained it. I spoke to people. I had black and white offers on the table.
Right.
But every time I looked at that offer, or every time I'd go and visit that company that was interested in buying me out, the only thing going through my mind was, I can compete against them. If they can do it, I can do it. That's the way I felt. I just felt like if they can do it, I can figure this out and do it. And that's really what drove me a little bit. It drove me. And I was seeing and being able to speak to people like yourself, Robert, and other landscapers that had faith in me and was willing to talk to me at any given moment to help me through my times. I could name people on your podcast. I'm not going to, but I've got a lot of friends in the industry that's really just been an ear for me and helped me through those times. And that's the great thing about our industry we're in. I mean, you could pick up the phone and I could read about someone in a magazine, and you'd be surprised at how many of them people I will call and they'll take my call just because I'm a fellow landscaper, and just because I'm going through a struggle that I just read that they went through, and they just sitting there talking to me about some different things that I could do to change. And that's what I did. I sought help out within the industry. And that's why I think our industry is so valuable. I think it's why it's so great. I would never imagine doing anything else because of the people that's associated in what we do on a day in and day out basis. Nevertheless, I went through that. It was not an overnight fix. And I think that's the first mistake that a lot of CEOs find. So if you've got any listeners on your podcast that are going through this, the worst thing you can do is think that there's some quick overnight fix to it, because it's not. I had to pick the things that was going to get me closer to the goal line tomorrow. And so gross margin is a big thing. And if you're not meeting a certain gross margin, it's extremely difficult. If you don't have the money to do things, you can't create processes and all that. So margin was huge for me. How to price my work, how to get my margins better. What's my overhead structure look like? Those are the worlds that I lived in for a little while, figuring out all that stuff. And I did seek help to do that. And once I started putting a little money in the bank, it's like the stress was just, it's coming off my shoulders. And then next thing you know, you're winning. You've had some little wins here and there, and the stress coming off your shoulders, and you're getting a little relief. And I never got comfortable. I just kept driving. So for the latter 6 years since 2019, I've just kept driving, and I drive every day. I don't believe in absentee ownership. I believe that as an owner, I need to be here every day. I need to be there for my team. I need to coach my team. And I'm always consistently looking for phenomenal people to join our organization, to keep that ball rolling, to create a good lifestyle, a good career path and whatnot. So,
yeah, I mean, I couldn't say it any better myself. I mean, as you say, the landscape industry is such a great industry. You've got so many great people in it, a lot of giving people in the industry, willing to give out their ideas, their experiences. I love the fact that you're continually looking at hiring people.
Yes.
Just see who's in the pipeline, and there's a great term out there, building the bench. So if you're building that bench of really good people that can join your team, that was something I was all about as well. And you've also got some extra dynamics now. Now you've got some family involved in the business, so it gives you that extra inspiration to keep on building and growing that company. So it sounds like you've got some great things going on. So Jeff, if people do want to pick your brains about, whether it be about your onboarding, whether it be about your academy piece, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Reach out to me via email. My email address is jjohns, JJOHNS at coastalgreenery.com. And just reach out to me via email and I'll get to you and we can set up something to chat about the onboarding process or the academy that we built, the training processes we've done. It's getting better every year that we continue to push. So if anybody's got any questions about that or anything, just reach out. I'm here to help.
Jeffrey, I could go on for another hour, but I want to respect your time. So maybe we'll get you back on another podcast, or maybe even I come down and visit you and
Sure.
we could podcast in person, which would be great.
I'd love to have you, Robert. Anytime you want to come down, we're not too far away from each other.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, really appreciate your time. Great job in building a tremendous business. I look forward to keeping in touch.
Yes, sir. Y'all have a good day.
Okay, cheers. That's a wrap for today's episode of the Commercial Landscaper Podcast. I hope you're walking away with some great nuggets that you can immediately apply to your business, whether you're in leadership, operations, or you just want to show up every day with that Ironman mindset. Remember, growth doesn't happen by accident. It happens with intentional moves, bold conversations, and surround yourself with the right people. If you found value today, subscribe, leave a review, or share this episode with others. And again, don't forget to check out wilson-360.com. We have digital courses from account management, operational excellence, leadership development, or some of the other coaching packages we offer. Anyway, huge shout out to our sponsors. Thank you very much. And I'll leave with this. Have a pure, dead, brilliant day.